Hey, what's up, guys? It's Rob Lee here. So, a brother out on the West Coast, my brother Shad, he sent me this video, not this video, but he sent me a link to this video and to this story about maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. I looked at it, and I've seen the story before, not this particular story, but this actually goes on all the time. You just don't hear about it. And I thought about it. I kept it in my mind for the past 2 months. I didn't do a video about it, but I was constantly thinking about it, about what it really means and what it means for the future. Now, I put together a series of some clips, and I just want you to watch what happened at this college out in Washington State. And I want you to think. I want you to open your mind, use your critical thinking skills, and think about what this is symbolic of for the United States as we move further. This is the future of a lawless country, and you can see the depraved behavior sweeping across this country, and it is starting with the young people. And if you think that this generation is bad, can you imagine what's coming behind it? We, as the true Christians of this world, we need to exercise a lot of patience, because inevitably what's going to happen is that people will not be able to take any more of this type of behavior. You know, people on my channel now are telling me, Rob, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I'm sitting on my hands, I'm starting to lose my temper. Man, all of us are. This is not something that you only feel. God, I mean, I've been feeling it for a long time. When I watched Muslims beat up some German children, there was a day that it hurt me so much and it angered me so much, I started having thoughts that I haven't had in a long time. Watch the video, use your critical thinking skills, and think about what this event really means in terms of where we're going. Take care. God bless.
Whiteness is the most violent system to ever breathe. Black power! Black power! Black power!
It matters. Your vice president is black, so I know you can do it, Joe.
Racist teachers have got to go. Hey, hey! Oh, oh! These racist teachers.
Time now for campus craziness, and tonight the title is not an overstatement, it really is crazy. Consider Evergreen State College in Washington and Olympia. Every year the school holds a day in absence. In years past, non-white students symbolically left campus and attended anti-racism events. This year, student activists demanded that all white people leave campus or else. Brett Weinstein refused. He's a professor at Evergreen State, and he called the race-based demand, quote, a show of force and an act of oppression. In response to that, here's what happened.
This is not about you.
I'm talking.
This is all about him. On terms of white privilege. This is not a discussion. You have lost that one.
You said some racist. Can you apologize? I did not. Okay.
Stop telling people of color the useless. You're useless. Get the out.
History could pivot in the direction of the values that you are standing here for.
Yeah, resign.
What?
Resign.
Resign.
Wow. Professor Brett Weinstein joins us now. Professor, first of all, thank you for coming on. That looks like something, you know, out of Phnom Penh, 1975. Was that, I mean, what exactly was going on there? What happened?
Well, what happened is that 50 or so students decided to disrupt the class that I was holding that morning and demand my resignation.
Because you wouldn't leave campus because you're white?
Well, they imagine that I am a racist and that I am teaching racism in the classroom, and that has caused them to imagine that I have no right to speak, that I am harming students by the very act of teaching them.
What happened after the video cut out?
Well, that's an interesting story. The campus police apparently showed up outside of the classroom. The protesters then blocked their entrance. I did not call the police. Someone else called the police, and they were concerned for my safety. But when they tried to come into the building to make sure that I was okay, the protesters blocked them. And because the issue of policing is so sensitive at the moment. The police had to run around and find another entrance to the building to get inside and check with me. At the point they did that, the protesters moved on and corralled the president of the college at his office. They extracted some demands from him. Among the demands was that there would be a meeting, well, actually, demands is perhaps the wrong word, a concession, that there would be a meeting at 4 o'clock in a large room on top of our library building. That meeting took place at the end of the day, and believe it or not, it was far crazier than the video that you just showed.
This whole story is so over the top that even though we do a lot of these, it's hard for me to believe it's real. So the core demand is that all people of your skin color leave the campus. Your president is a guy called George Bridges. Where was he?
Bridges.
Why isn't, there he is right there. George Bridges is supposed to be running this school. Why is he allowing a mob to threaten one of his professors?
Well, I must say, I have some concern that the story is so strange that it's not even going to make sense to an audience that isn't local to the campus. Dr. Bridges is allowing this mob to effectively control the campus, and they have been in control since 9:30 on Tuesday morning. At this moment, I believe Dr. Bridges is answering a set of demands put forward by the protesters, and they have said that if he does not accept their demands, that there will be violence. I do not know what his response to those demands is going to be, but I know that that's taking place at this hour. He has also told the police to stand down. So although the campus police have a sense of what it is that needs to happen in a circumstance like this, they have been hobbled by the fact that they answer to the college administration, and in fact for several days have been barricaded in the campus police station.
Oh my gosh, this is like something out of another country. It's just hard to believe any of this is real. And just our viewers should look this up online, because there are a lot of pieces to the story. It's hard to convey on television, but you had this, I thought, powerful line in your letter, and I assume you're no kind of right-winger. If you teach at Evergreen, I'm sure you're, you know, a Hillary voter, but you had this. No,
not a Hillary voter. I'm a deeply progressive person, and
oh, okay.
I must say
there you go.
I'm troubled by what this implies about the current state of the left.
Well, you think? You said people shouldn't be allowed to speak or not on the basis of their skin color, which seems like a foundational belief of the left, and one that I agree with strongly. And for that, they physically threatened you and are trying to get you fired. This is
yes,
unbelievable.
They are absolutely trying to get me fired, and they believe that my words in my email are transparently racist, and I think we're caught quite off guard when people who were not at Evergreen read my letter and couldn't find any racism in it.
Well, yeah, just the opposite. Professor, Godspeed to you, and I hope you'll come back with an update on this story, because it's really one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Thank you.
Thanks, Tucker.
Time now for Campus Craziness. There's an inexhaustible supply of that. Do you remember Brett Weinstein? He's the professor at Evergreen College who sparked massive protests because he refused to leave campus when ordered to because he was the wrong skin color. A principled man, progressive, by the way. But that's not his only offense. A new article in the Huffington Post says his colleagues at Evergreen are asking another question. Quote, is speaking with Tucker Carlson a punishable offense? Well, for many, the answer is yes. At least 4 faculty have accused Weinstein of, quote, endangering students by appearing on this show. Well, Evergreen College in Washington State is melting down, and that's not overstatement. 2 weeks ago, we interviewed a professor there, a math professor called Brett Weinstein. He's a liberal who's been overwhelmed by the left. He had a mob of students demanding he be fired because he refused to leave campus for a day because he was white. They demanded he leave, and he said, no, I don't think so. Now, at least 60 Evergreen faculty and staff have signed a letter supporting the students against the professor. They're demanding a disciplinary investigation of Weinstein, who they say has, quote, endangered students by inviting, quote, white supremacist backlash through his refusal to leave campus because he's white. This is all real, by the way. Tommy Lahren is a senior communications advisor for the Great American Alliance, and she joins us now. Tommy, what is going on in Evergreen?
Oh, boy. I mean, the fact that this is happening in the United States of America, first of all, is disturbing. But isn't it odd, Tucker, that there used to be generations of Americans that fought against segregation, and now it seems the new generation is fighting for segregation? It's lunacy.
Well, this poor Professor Weinstein, we talked to him and said, you know, you're probably liberal. He said, actually, I'm a lefty. I mean, I think he's a Bernie Sanders guy. But he remembers liberals as they were a generation ago against segregation and hurting people on the basis of their skin color. And he woke up one day and everyone around him disagreed. I mean, it's a 180-degree change, it looks like.
Well, I can't believe it. And to throw out these words like racist, especially at a professor who said, I think we should all come together on campus. No one should stay home. We shouldn't have a day of exclusion. The fact that he came out and said that was brave. But then to be called a racist because of it, it just shows how ridiculous these labels are and how damaging they can be. But the most disgusting and disturbing part of this whole thing is that there are other professors that are sticking up for the mob-like protesters. Now that's what's got me.
Well, you got to kind of wonder their motives, which are, I guess, unknowable. But I wonder how many of them are just afraid to disagree with the mob. I mean, they no longer run Evergreen, obviously. The president's a spineless character. He bowed out a long time ago. So basically, it's being run by an angry mob implying violence. Maybe they just don't want to get hurt.
Well, that's probably part of it. But here's the deal. We know this. The alt-left is well organized and they're well funded. And they are on college campuses, and that is going to be a battleground for us, not just now, but for election cycles to come. So that's why it's so important for me to be a part of groups like Great America Alliance that says, you know what, we're going to do this professionally and with class. We're not going to have mobs. We're going to get our message out there, and we're going to do it using free speech. But we're not going to do it like the students at Evergreen College, because that's disruptive, it's disgusting, it's violent, and it's un-American.
Where's the Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department? I mean, if you had any other college where a mob of students were implying physical violence, threatening someone because of his skin color, and you had faculty doing the same, I mean, shouldn't there be a civil rights investigation on this? Where's the state senate in the state of Washington? Where's the governor? Where's the mayor of Olympia? Like, where are the authorities here exactly?
Everyone is afraid to speak out, because if they speak out against this, they are labeled a racist. Everyone is so afraid of being labeled a racist, so they've got the power then. It's the alt-left, it's mobs like this that have the power, and they hold the power. And I also hold the mainstream media accountable for that as well. The mainstream media needs to be coming out and saying this is crap. And until they do that, groups like this feel justified and validated for this kind of activity, and it's disgusting. But when people start becoming fearless enough to stand up, that's when this stuff will end, but not until then.
I agree with that completely, and I wonder how long they think it's going to be before the mob comes for them, since the revolution always eats itself. I mean, seriously, well, you really think you buy a pass by nodding in agreement with the mob? No, you never do.
Oh, no, of course not. And, you know, these individuals, they claim to be sticking up for civil rights. They claim to be social justice warriors, and they act like this. I mean, that video that's been posted on YouTube is appalling. Anyone, can you imagine being a parent right now ready to send your child to college? Can you imagine being a parent of a conservative student ready to send them to college? Can you imagine what that must feel like?
Can you imagine being an alum, getting a phone call from a fundraiser saying, hey, why don't you give some money to a college, any college? Other than Hillsdale? No way! Tommy Lahren, thanks a lot for coming on tonight.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Time now for campus craziness, and in that category, no school comes close to matching Evergreen College in Washington State. You've been in a coma for the last month. Here are the basics. Student activists sought to kick all white people off campus for an entire day. Brett Weinstein, who's a biology professor there and a self-described progressive, refused to leave. He said that was wrong. He was subsequently harassed by a mob howling for his job. Instead of sticking up for their colleague, meanwhile, dozens of Evergreen professors have called for Weinstein to leave, calling him the villain, demanding he be investigated. Professor Weinstein has relocated his family for their safety, but he joins us now, and we're grateful he has. Professor, thanks for coming on. So,
thanks for inviting me back, Tucker.
You're no longer on the campus of Evergreen. Why?
Well, the college has never acknowledged the danger that they put us in, and therefore I have no way of knowing whether it's safe for me to return. Their assurances that it is safe don't mean anything, not that they've offered them.
Not that they've offered them. No, it seems to me, and you and I have talked before, I doubt we share the same politics at all, but this seems a pretty cut-and-dried case of the defense of free expression. You had a point of view, and your right to have that ought to be sacrosanct. And I wonder, you know, how many of your colleagues or others in academia have supported you in that?
Well, I've received tremendous support outside of the college, and I've received quite a bit of support privately within the college, but publicly, only one other professor has come forward to say he supports my position.
And what is your position, if you could sum it up for us?
Well, the issue is complicated. Let me start by just simply pointing out the protest of my class occurred because I sent an email to the staff and faculty email list protesting what we call day of absence. In this case, day of absence was being reversed by the organizing committee, and white people were asked to leave the campus. It was not that we were forced to leave, but we were asked to leave, and it was made very clear that leaving was an act of allyship with people of color, and therefore not leaving, if you were white, meant that you were not an ally.
And you refused to leave.
I did refuse to leave, and I sent a letter. I think it was very carefully stated, but it said that there was a tremendous difference between a population absenting themselves from a shared space and a population deciding to absent other people from that same space, and that on a college campus, people should be equally free to be on campus irrespective of their skin color.
Exactly. Amen, which I thought was sort of a basic precept of American life. Do you plan to go back to Evergreen?
Well, I certainly have duties to finish this year, and I have no alternative employment, so my expectation is that I will have to go back. That said, it's not exactly clear how I can go back to a campus where the administration and the faculty have invested so heavily in demonizing me. At first, they demonized me as a racist, and as it became clear that that was not resonating with people, they shifted their critique, and in fact have blamed my last appearance on your program for everything that has occurred at Evergreen since. So I don't know how I can go back and teach, given that I have been portrayed as the reason that Evergreen is in crisis.
It's just grotesque. And for the record, of course, all of this happened before you came on our show. We asked you on because we saw it unfolding. I really hope a college, any college, who wants a professor or principal will call you right after this appearance tonight. Professor, thanks for coming on.
Thanks very much.